In the satellite accumulation area, there are a couple of things that a generator has to do to properly manage hazardous waste. One of those is to properly select the correct container to store your waste or collect your waste in. Here we have several different containers. This container has flammable acidic solution. It has acetone, acetic acid, toluene, and sulfuric acid with water. It is a flammable acidic. As I said, this one has sodium hydroxide in water, which is a basic corrosive. Those two are incompatible, so we need to make sure they're separated so that if one of the containers leaks or both leaks, incompatibles do not mix together. So we have our separate lab packs that we put our hazardous waste in according to hazard categories. The other thing you need to make sure when you have hazardous waste in your satellite accumulation area, it needs to be tightly closed, which means if I tighten it down and I turn it up, nothing leaks out. You can't, if you just put it on and do a quick little turn, that's not a tightly closed container. So just be sure you tightly close it each time you add to the container. Also, you need to make sure you're labeled properly. Research Safety has hazardous waste labels on our website. You can visit it, download these. This is a standard Avery label, has the correct verbiage, hazardous waste. All of your waste containers must be marked with the words hazardous waste. That can't be altered. The other things that you need to make sure you put on that label are the constituents, and you need to put all of the constituents. This container we're filling with potassium hydroxide in water. So on the label we've listed potassium hydroxide, 75% because we know the percentage, and the water is 25%. Then we have the hazard. You need to put a hazard that indicates you made the determination it is a hazardous waste and why. Hazards would be things like flammable, corrosive, toxic, oxidizer, reactive. Those type things would be acceptable on your waste label. Once you fill out the label, you need to attach it to your container. And this has to be attached when the first drop of waste goes into the container. Not when you're ready to declare it, but when the first drop goes in, be sure this label goes on with all applicable constituents in that container. Again, this is a basic, it's a hydroxide, so we're going to put it in our secondary containment area with our other hydroxide. Now, if your constituents are too many to list on this label, then you're more than welcome to print out another piece of paper or write on the container those constituents. The way you would do that is you attach your hazardous waste label where it says chemical name, mark C list, and then over here we have our list. This is a hazardous waste flammable acidic solution and our constituents. Again, the acetone, acetic acid, toluene, hydrofluoric, and water. And we put our percentages. If you know your percentages, that helps us out greatly when we're determining how this product needs to ship. So again, just to highlight, in the satellite accumulation area, you need to make sure you pick the proper container. That container must be compatible with your waste. It can be a new container such as this, or it could be an empty container that you had virgin chemical in. Just remember, if you use this empty container, it must have had a product that is compatible with the waste you're putting in it. So if this had been nitric acid container, I couldn't put a flammable solvent in here. So just keep that in mind. You need to make sure it's labeled properly, words hazardous waste, and the constituents, and your hazard, corrosive or corrosive basic as I've put here. And keep your container tightly closed.